And welcome yet again to another episode of Dinner Guide. I'm your regular host, Chef Andy, and today we are going to be going a little bit traditional. We're going to be doing something very English. We're going to be making some mincemeat, we're going to be making some mashed potatoes, and last but not least, some cabbage slaw. Before we get to that part, I will begin by first introducing the ingredients before us today, and then we will go into the main event. So right from the very front, I've got some beautiful beef mince there. This is lean mince, about 60 to 40 meat to fat. I've also got some fresh coriander. I've got some pre-cooked potatoes there. So these are half-cooked potatoes, peeled and washed. I've also got some cabbage, some carrot there, a bit of some curry powder, some turmeric powder, one stock cube, a bit of some red apple cider vinegar. I've also got some unsalted butter, one half piece of white onion, about 20 grams of leek, salt and pepper to taste, a bit of olive oil as well, and last but not least, some milk. So we're going to take a break now, give you a bit of time to grab your pens and papers if you're taking notes, and just get ready for the show. And when we do come back, we're going to dive right into it. So don't touch that dial. We'll be right back. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. For those of you who are just catching up with the show, we've just been introducing the ingredients and we're right about to start. And first off, we're going to start by heating up our pan, and we are going to be chopping up some of our onions as well, which will actually begin to fry first. So first things first, grab your sharp knife. I'm going to be using half a white onion for this recipe. And just proceed to chop that fine. Once done, proceed to begin by adding some cooking oil to your pan. And begin the first step by adding your white onions first. Now I'm going to be starting the cooking process with my temperature at medium. This is to actually just to allow the onions to sweat out really well and to color really gently. And proceed to mix everything as you turn up your heat a little higher to medium. And now at this stage you'll begin to add your dried spices. So I'm going to start with my curry powder and some turmeric. Proceed to mix that all together. And as soon as that's mixed through, proceed to add your beef mince. And using your wooden spoon, begin to break that big chunk of meat with your wooden spoon. And proceed to mix everything together. Now for this particular recipe, I'm going to be working with some lean mince. So I always recommend, if you are going to go out there and buy your mince, it's very recommended that you actually pick your meat and have your butcher actually mince it for you in the ratios that you'd like. I recommend this for the purpose that particularly with working with mincemeat, you can actually have different variations where you could have more fat to meat or less fat to meat. But for this particular one, we're using about 60% meat to 40% fat. So proceed to mix everything together. Of course, continually pressing into those lumps of meat, breaking the chunks down to smaller sizes. And you can proceed to turn your heat to high. Proceed to fry everything together. At this stage, you're actually looking for a beautiful color to your meat. So you will actually be continuously mixing, making sure not to, of course, leave your pan unattended. Proceed to continue mixing continuously. And at this stage, once your meat has just about turned to gray, proceed to level your mixture in the pan with your spoon. Lower your temperature to medium and allow that to continue to cook for a few minutes to actually allow the fat to really cook down. And while that continues, we also have some potatoes here, which we'll be making some mashed potatoes. So start that off by heating a pan. We're going to switch those around. Now we're going to let that continue cooking for about another 4 to 5 minutes undisturbed, but while we do so, we are going to continue on to the next part of the meal, which is the mashed potatoes. So I like to start this off very, very simply by adding about 3 to 4 knobs of butter, chopped up into about a 1/4 inch in thickness. To that, we'll proceed to add our leeks. So just proceed to cut that right through the center, turn it sideways, and proceed to cut it, to chop as thin as you can. And this should actually give you just enough time for you to melt your butter. Once chopped, proceed to add everything to your butter. And one particular beautiful trick and tale about leeks, they actually are they're actually a bunch of a variety of onions that are not very much used locally. But I will recommend, if you do manage to see some of this out there in the market, I do recommend that you actually try some. They're very, very good. They give a very, very good butteriness to them. And most of all, they pack quite a bit of nutrient and flavor. So I'm just going to proceed to fry those in the butter. And once they're just about ready to turn almost translucent, grab your potatoes. So for this, I'm going to be using 3 medium-sized potatoes. These were already boiled. They've actually been half cooked, rinsed under cold water, and they should be ready to go. So just pop those into the pan. And proceed to just mix everything together, making sure to coat that potato really well with the leek mixture with the butter. And actually this process should actually allow for you to tenderize your potatoes very, very gently. I'm going to turn up the heat to medium now. That should actually give you enough time to get your potatoes nice and tender for mashing. Very, very importantly, if you are going to be mashing, you may actually want to get yourself one of this. It's a very beautiful industrial masher. It does save you quite a bit of time, and it will actually give you a very beautiful consistency. Now coming back to our mince, we're going to quickly just Mix that through once more. Now once your meat is nice and looks very much like a crummy consistency, and your onions are nice and colored, level it once more to the base of the pan and turn your heat to low and allow that to continue to cook undisturbed very, very gently. Then bring your attention back to your potatoes. You should actually be able to start getting a bit of color in your mixture. And once you notice your leeks have just started to turn golden brown, we are going to proceed to add some milk. Give that a nice quick mix. And you can actually check for the doneness of your potatoes by actually pressing them down with your spoon or your ladle. And if you notice they're not really breaking right through in the first attempt, you can actually allow those to continue a little more. You could also add the rest of your milk at this stage. And you should actually be able to cover about half of your mixture in the pot. Give that another mix once more. And proceed to add a small pinch of salt for taste. And you can also crush in a bit of your black peppercorns. Now proceed to mix those once more. And now that your mince is actually now starting to dry, you will actually start to hear the sizzling of the mince right at the bottom of the pan. It will actually begin to color quite a little bit. And at this stage, your pan is quite hot, so very, very importantly to just cool that down with a little bit of stock or water. Give that a nice mix once more. Right, so we've got a nice beautiful aroma coming from there. You can get the hints of the curry powder. It's really, really coming out strong, but it does mellow out really well with that beautiful leek that we fried in the beginning, and the white onions, of course. And you can level that once more and allow the liquid to cook away. And then you can actually come back to your potatoes. Begin to press down with the ladle once more to check for doneness. And as soon as it actually starts to get very tender, proceed to grab your masher and proceed to break up the chunks of potatoes. Of course, always starting with the softest ones first. And remember, at this stage, I still have my pot right over the stove. This will actually allow for your potatoes to really cook into a very beautiful creaminess. So proceed to mash those. So give it a nice firm press, making sure to not damage your pan by moving your masher around. Remember, the idea is to actually just press right to the bottom. And doing this over some low heat will actually give you quite an advantage. So just proceed to break those last few chunks. And proceed to mash as you would for Now at this stage you can actually turn down your heat completely. I'm just going to place my board to the side, and I'm going to move my pan to the side. and proceed to mash off the heat. Nice beautiful creaminess there. As you can see, it actually holds really well to your masher. Now that that is complete, we're going to get rid of our masher, and we're going to proceed to cover our pot and leave it on the side for later. And we'll bring our attention back to the beef mince. It's now nicely cooking down. It's got a nice beautiful color to it. The aromas are really coming through really well. Now just to finish that off, we will need our board once more. To that we're going to add a nice handful of some fresh coriander. So proceed to press that onto your board and begin to chop very coarsely. Right, once done, you can actually now proceed to grab a bowl, and you can just probably grab about a third of that mixture, and you can leave that on your bowl. I'll show you what to do with that later. And now proceed to add the rest of your coriander to your pot. Mixing through once more. And now your mince is perfectly cooked. You can actually correct the season once more by adding a bit of some black peppercorns. Also break up that beef cube, throw that in the pot, and continue to fry. Of course, using your spoon to break up the chunk of cubes. And continue to mix continuously. And basically all you need to do now is leave your pot on the heat for about another 3 to 4 minutes. Allow the cube to really season itself into your meat. And basically you can actually turn down the heat completely in about another 2 to 3 minutes. We are going to take a short break now. We're going to clean up our station, and when we come back, I'm going to show you some very, very simple technique of plating this beautiful dish. And I'm also going to show you how to make this very beautiful cabbage and carrot slaw. So please don't touch that dial. We'll be right back. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. For those of you who are just catching up with us, we've just been doing some very beautiful mince on the side. We've also been doing some mashed potatoes which are ready to plate. But we're now at we're now right at the final dish of the day, which we're going to be doing. And for this, you're going to require just a few things. You're going to require some apple cider vinegar. You could alternatively use a bit of balsamic. It may be a bit harsh, or you could even use some white vinegar, which is a little milder, and it will actually give you just as good of a slaw. So we're going to start off in a bowl here. In it, we've already got about a tablespoon of chopped coriander. Now to that, we're going to proceed to add a bit of some cabbage. And then next up, we're going to grate in a bit of the carrot. So just hold your grater attachment right over the bowl and proceed to grate some very, very nice julienne So about half a carrot should be able to cover about a cupful of cabbage. That is a very good ratio for a slaw. And of course for the vinegar, always use about a tablespoon for anything that exceeds 4 portions, and 1 tablespoon for anything that is either 1 or 2 portions, and it should give you a nice beautiful balance. So just to finish off that last bit of the carrot, be sure to tap onto your grater, and always be sure to turn it around as well, and just remove everything that's still attached at the back. And all you're going to do now is add in your vinegar, a bit of salt for seasoning, some ground black peppercorns, and now all you're going to do is grab a pair of tongs and proceed to toss everything together in the bowl, making sure to occasionally turn your bowl, and be sure to incorporate all the ingredients, of course folding from the bottom up, making sure to get that beautiful color from the coriander. And you can actually add a little bit of mayonnaise to this recipe as well for the cabbage slaw. It will actually make a big difference. Although if you're not looking at adding any more calorie to your dish, especially now that you're having butter and meat together in one dish, this is a very good side salad to have with your meal. And it's actually beautiful, light, and it will actually also break the sharpness of the spices in the meat, and also it will just mellow down the butteriness of your mashed potatoes. Right, once done, reconstitute everything to the center of your bowl, and now proceed to plate. I'm just going to use this beautiful side plate so that you can be able to see the salad really well. Just scoop a little more of that. Right, so your slaw is now done. Just going to place that on the side. And next up, we're going to go and plate our main meal. So very simply, I'm going to be using a mold to plate for this particular stage. So you can actually be able to find this at most stores within the CBD. It actually isn't you can actually find it by the name of a plating mold or a dairing mold. They actually come very good. They are very much, they're actually very good, especially when plating. I use them a lot even in the kitchens when plating main meals. And this is a very good tool to have at home. So very simply, place the ring right in the center of your plate and proceed to scoop your mashed potatoes with a spoon. Placing, of course, just enough mixture in your ring to reach right at the very top. Once you have your nice portion, proceed to just use your spoon now to just really press that mixture right down to the bottom. That should be able to cover any small pockets there, and also give your mashed potatoes a nice beautiful shape. And all you're going to do at this stage is slide your ring up and out it goes. So you can be able to see it actually does make a difference, especially if you're trying to portion out portions of mashed potato. And this will actually save you time as well when plating, because it's as easy as that. Just place the ring in the center and start plating. Now to finish this off, we do have this beautiful mince. Just proceed to give that a quick mix, and using your ladle, just press some of that mixture to the side, getting a nice beautiful consistency there. Press it against the side of your bowls. It always gives you a bit of leverage when plating. And all you're going to do is just hold the spoon right to the center of your plate and just invert the spoon to one side, and your beef mince will actually fall in very easily. You could add a little bit more just to give you an idea of a full portion size for an adult. That is almost done, but it can always be done better. Just to do that, we're going to be using a little bit of some fresh coriander to garnish. So I'm just going to place that right over the top and leave that there for you all to see. Thank you so much once again, ladies and gentlemen, for tuning in today. For those of you who are tuning in on Facebook, on Facebook Live, thank you also for being with us today. Do remember, we always appreciate your feedback. So your comments, queries, or any particular issues or comments pertaining the show, we're always looking forward to hearing back from you. So from the studios and myself, I'm going to bid you farewell. And until the next episode, have a lovely evening, enjoy your dinner, and see you soon.